ACC grains: wheat, soybeans, corn, popcorn. Welcome to the Grains Program. I am Pat Burkhalter, the County Education Outreach Coordinator for the Clinton County Farm Bureau. I'm going to talk to you today about grains. The most important grain to Clinton County are wheat, soybeans, corn, and popcorn. Wheat isn't grown as much as it was 10 years ago, but it is still important because this is what we use to make bread and pasta and cakes and pies and cookies. 1 bushel of wheat equals 60 pounds and will produce 73 one-pound loaves of bread. Bread baking is a science, true or false? We use science every day. Bread is part of the grain group of my plate. The ingredients needed for bread baking are bread flour, whole wheat flour, powdered milk, salt, sugar, yeast, water, and oil. Put all these ingredients in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag and knead it up, and that will make a loaf of bread. I use active dryer yeast, which has been dried and formed into small dehydrated granulars. This product was developed in the 1940s for use by the armed forces. Hi, this is Pat Burkhalter, and we're going to do the lesson Bread in a Bag. To do this, you'll need a gallon-size Ziploc bag, and to that, I will add 1 cup of bread flour. Bread flour is necessary because of the amount of gluten in it to get better bread products with. And then we'll add a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. Makes it healthier that way. Gives you some fiber in your diet. Then we'll add a 1.5 tablespoons of powdered milk. And for this lesson, we use powdered milk so that I don't have to heat the milk up and then keep it at scalding temperature while I'm trying to do all the lesson. And in large groups, it's just as easy. And then we use a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Sugar, I added 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. Sugar is what feeds the yeast. Salt is what teachers do to students, and it keeps them in control. The yeast I'm adding, I buy yeast in a 1-pound block and store it in this container. This costs for a package and a half, or half a package. Red Star donated yeast and thermometers to all the students, so that they can take the recipe that I'm going to send with you home and bake bread at home with their parents. Now I added my yeast. I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And now a 1/2 cup of warm water. If it's too hot, it will cook my yeast. If it's just right, it'll make the yeast work just like it's supposed to. So we take all the air out of the bag, and then we knead the bag into a nice round ball. So after several minutes of kneading, now when I do this in the classroom, we'll do this and students will be paired off. So there'll be 2 of them working. And this way it teaches them cooperation and how to get along while they're kneading dough. So after it's in a nice round ball, we'll pop it out. And this is where your fingers get dirty. Coat it a little bit with flour so it doesn't get you quite so dirty. Kneading is where you turn it over with the palm of your hand, push it down, push it down. It will eventually get non-sticky so you can handle it better. And you will just knead it, and this works the gluten so that it is more pliable and will make the bread rise. Now, we'll have a loaf this size. Still wants to be a little sticky. Bread is so forgiving. When I am working with students, I'll divide it in half. And so after it's baked, they'll end up with a loaf this size. Or you can put it in little bread pans and end up with a loaf this size. My daughter was watching the stove last night. Guess she didn't watch it very well. This is all it takes to do bread in a bag. When I can get into the classrooms, I would love to come and do this with your classroom. It's a great way of teaching kids how to bake bread. This lesson is called Bread in a Bag and is available for classroom presentation as soon as I am able to come to the classroom and teach Ag in the Classroom lessons. We work in teams and the kids learn how to measure and knead and do all sorts of bread making skills. Wheat flour is used to make yeast-raised products. It contains gluten, forming proteins which are necessary to support the fermentation of yeast. The most common wheat flours used in baking are whole wheat flour, bread flour, and all-purpose flour. Kneading is a process of developing dough into a smooth, elastic ball. When flour is mixed with liquid, gluten strands are formed. Kneading develops the gluten by making it stronger and more elastic for better volume and gas retention. In bread proofing, this refers to the rising step for the bread. Most often this is done in an acclimate-controlled proof box. Mine just sits at it on the kitchen table with a clean dishcloth over it. Rise, this stage when making yeast breads where the dough is set in a warm, draft-free place for a period of time while the yeast ferments some of the sugar in the dough into carbon dioxide and alcohol. This carbon dioxide gas helps the dough to rise. Soybean uses. Soybeans are Indiana's second largest crop. Corn is the largest. And the yields we produce make our state the third largest soybean producer in the United States. Nearly 10% of our nation's soybean crop are grown right here in Indiana. What's so great about these little beans? For one, they're a great source of protein. Per acre, soybeans produce more protein than any other crop. But what really sets them apart is how versatile they are. They're not only a great food source for humans and livestock, they produce oil that is used for cooking. And did you know that if it's labeled vegetable oil in the grocery, it's a soybean oil? Soybeans can also be made into hundreds of products, everything from tofu to plywood, plastics, candle wax, and crayon. This shows the parts and life cycle of a soybean from the seed into the ground to the mature plant. This shows the parts of a stalk of corn, down from the roots clear up to the tassel. Products made from corn and soybeans. As you can see, several of them are products that you eat or use daily. Everybody loves popcorn, the granddaddy of all snack foods. Discovered in the Americas thousands of years ago, popcorn has captivated people for centuries with its mythical and magical charm. Yet through the ages, popcorn has remained relatively unchanged. Popcorn is a seed, which just happens to have some nifty things when it is heated. These are the 9 major popcorn-producing states. Indiana ranks second in popcorn production. This slide shows the conversion of how many kernels you will get to need to pop enough popcorn for you and your friends to enjoy. So if you popped 2 tablespoons of unpopped kernels, you will end up with a quart of popped popcorn. Nutritional information on popcorn. Air popped popcorn only has 30 calories per cup. Oil popped has about 35 calories per cup. When lightly buttered, popcorn can contain up to 80 calories per cup. Popcorn is a whole grain, making it a good-for-you food. Popcorn provides energy-producing complex carbohydrates. Popcorn contains fiber, providing roughage the whole body needs in a daily diet. Popcorn is naturally low in fat and calories. Popcorn has no artificial additives or preservatives and is sugar-free. Popcorn is ideal for between-meal snacking since it satisfies and doesn't spoil the appetite. 3 cups of popcorn equal 1 serving from the grain group. Thank you for listening to my slideshow and video on bread in a bag. I hope you enjoy the handouts I have provided to your teacher. Have a great day.